With the conclusion of Super Bowl 58, the NFL season has officially come to an end after the Kansas City Chiefs took down the San Francisco 49ers, and the amount of optimism that I think we all have heading into the 2024 to 2025 season. I think it's all Super Bowl or bust, right? That's the expectation, is go win the Super Bowl. You come that close to winning it all this year, and one game away from being the Super Bowl. I think for sure, I think we probably would have won it all if we would have made it. I think we would have won it. And there's definitely a couple positions that we need to fix, right? We know cornerback, defensive end, interior defensive line. Those are the three main targets. If we address those positions, there's no reason this team isn't a Super Bowl favorite, and there's no reason this team isn't getting their first ring next year. So I also do want to mention this. My first video on this channel was a mock draft last year, my first mock draft. I predicted a lot of what happened in that draft last year with the trade down to pick 12, the pick of Jahmyr Gibbs, Hendon Hooker, like you name it. So I just want to put that out there. Let's go ahead, let's get into it, starting with just looking at every single pick in the 2024 draft. We're going to start with pick number 29. In the first round, Kool-Aid McKinstry. This is the guy who I think most Detroit Lions fans are probably looking at and saying, yeah, that's the guy who we want. That's the guy who could come in and make an immediate impact. There's some stats for you right there. Obviously, not much of a stat guy, right? And the thing is most good corners aren't. Look at Sauce Gardner. He's not really a stat patter, right? He only gets maybe a pick or two, and then he really just locks down his receiver, right? That's what this team's missing, is a lockdown guy. We have the ball hawks and Kirby Joseph, CJ Gardner-Johnson, if we re-sign him. We have those guys already. We need a lockdown guy that can go guard a number one receiver. This is a 3-year starter at Bama. I don't know if he started his freshman year, actually, but I know he did play a lot. And I just do want to mention real quick that the picks that I'm saying, where I'm picking them, they could be different, right? Because we know Brad Holmes likes to trade. I'm not doing any trades in this draft. So it could be different. Like, let's say we trade up to 15 to take Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? But I think what I'm trying to say is that the players that I'm taking in this draft, it might not be the exact pick, but it's going to be like that player wherever. It could be 3rd round, 5th round. Like, it doesn't matter. These are just the players who I think that we're going to go after. But anyway, back to Kool-Aid. Let's look at some stuff about him. Best overall corner in this draft, some strengths. Very fluid hips. He's physical. Plays good zone. He's more of a man guy, but he can play zone. Great communicator, a great leader. Some of the weaknesses, his red zone awareness. He's not great in the red zone. Some stuff he could work on. And then short routes, he's also not great at, but he is. I've watched a lot of his film, and to me, his short routes and red zone, he's not bad at it. I just think that he could improve that part. And the thing is this guy, for whatever reason, has fallen in a lot of drafts that I've seen. Those are the guys that we like to call the analysis. Like the guys who think they know what they're talking about and they don't. The guys who gave the Lions a C+ on their draft last year. So to me, I think Kool-Aid should be a top 15 pick. I think that he's probably going to be gone by pick 20, 22 maybe. But I've seen so many drafts of him falling, and there's a good chance he does because there's a lot of good corners coming out this year. Kool-Aid McKinstry, one of my top guys. I would love to go out and get this guy. Moving on to our next pick, we are heading into the 2nd round, where we will be going to pick number 61 in the 2nd round. T'Vondre Sweat. If you don't know him, you should really go watch this guy. I'm going to play some highlights anyway, but this is a dude who, man, if we get this guy, there's some stats for you. Not really a pass rusher. It's not what we're really looking for, right? Look at his size, 6'4", 360. When you see this guy on the field, he looks massive. Imagine walking down the street and seeing this guy. Like 6'4", 350 pounds. Like, that is terrifying. Like, holy crap. So, looking at T'Vondre Sweat, obviously, you saw some of the stats and his size measurements. He's defensive tackle, and after Isaiah Buggs left, we're kind of missing that guy alongside Aleem McNeil on the inside, right? We need our run defense. That was the thing that we wanted to target this year, and we want to keep that because that run, we didn't give up a single 100-yard rusher all year. We held Christian McCaffrey to like 70. I don't even think we gave up more than 70 yards all year. Our run defense was easily the top 3 in the NFL. And we need to keep that going because that helped us so much defensively. Like, we are forcing teams to pass. If we upgrade that secondary, teams aren't going to be able to pass either because we're going to have lockdown guys out there. So it's going to be perfect. Like, we're going to have a top 5 defense next year, especially with this guy because, man, T'Vondre Sweat, who I've seen some drafts of him going top 15, and I've seen some drafts of him fall into the early 3rd round. So this guy's kind of a, he was a standout at the Senior Bowl. He wouldn't. There's a good chance that he could go first round, but who knows? He's one of the most outstanding players at the Senior Bowl. Like I said, he fills the gap alongside McNeil, and we still have high hopes for Broderick Martin, right? Like Broderick Martin, we took him in the 3rd round last year. He's more of a developmental guy, not really a day one guy, a guy that maybe you could develop into another Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil didn't really do anything until this year, his 3rd season, right? I think Broderick Martin's going to be the same way. I think he'll do just what Aleem McNeil did. I think he's going to be a great player. But this guy can come in this year and probably start for you and be a difference maker, right? He's some strengths for him, massive human, great run stopper, very good run stopper, great upper body strength, gets out of 1v1s pretty easily, and he gets past his guy. He's a good pass batter. So, he bats down passes very well. Some weaknesses, he doesn't have much acceleration. He needs more pass rush moves so he can start getting to the quarterback a little bit more, but he still does get pretty decent amount of pressures. And then he needs conditioning, which, carrying around all that weight, yeah, I mean, I understand that. But this guy is a guy who's going to be one of my top 3 probably prospects that I really want the Lions to get. I think he would be a huge difference maker for the Detroit Lions and could come in and make an impact day one. I would love Devondre Sweat. Moving on in the draft, we're going to head to the 3rd round where we'll be taking a look at pick number 73. Pick 73, I have the Detroit Lions taking Brendan Rice, and this is more of a controversial pick because I feel like some of you might be like, why are we taking a wide receiver? I'm going to tell you right now. We'll start with this. Here's some stats. First of all, 45 catches, 800 yards, 12 touchdowns. It says, for whatever reason, he's a senior, which he's actually a redshirt junior. So, he didn't really play his freshman year, but he is, he didn't, have like insane stats, right? But 12 touchdowns off 45 catches. I remember watching USC a few times this year, and he's always in the end zone. Like, this dude is a big play guy and stuff like that right there. He's a good jump ball guy. Let's go through it. And I also want to say this, if the Lions don't re-sign Josh Reynolds or Donovan Peoples-Jones, which this is a 50-50 chance they don't re-sign one. I think they'll re-sign at least one. But one of them they might not re-sign. They could re-sign both. I would rather than re-sign both. You can still get this guy as another wide receiver because we do need more depth at the position, and this guy could be our future guy alongside with J-Mo and Amon-Ra. This guy's the big, 6'4", 6'3.5", jump ball guy, big body receiver that can, go downfield, make big plays. Whereas J-Mo is the, route runner, the speedster, get involved in the run game, deep ball guy, and create space by, running routes and stuff like that. So, looking at Brendan Rice, son of Jerry Rice, if you didn't know, very good jump ball, very good size. He, good deep ball guy. He can run deep. And it would be great alongside Jameson Williams, too. I think that would be pretty insane with the Amon-Ra and Laporta. Could fall in the draft. And with the combine, he could also rise. You never know because he's a monster. Some of his strengths. He is very explosive. He's physical, good route runner, great hands. And he's a great blocker as well. Some weaknesses is that he's not great at stopping his momentum. He's not good at, running full speed and stopping. Whereas Jameson Williams, he's very good at that. That's one of his best things. He's not consistent. He wasn't very consistent at USC, and he's not the best ball tracker, which, all rookie, first year or two receivers struggle with that. We've seen it with Christian Watson, even J-Mo. All good rookie receivers, can struggle with that. That's the thing that, comes with good quarterback throws and just kind of developing over time. But yeah, this guy's a guy who I think could come in and help the Lions offense and just kind of help take them to the next level and be another guy in the receiving spot. Moving on to the next pick, we have the 3rd round pick 92 overall, where I had the Lions taking Zach Zinter, the Michigan offensive lineman. And as a Michigan State fan, even I can acknowledge the fact that this dude is an absolute beast. He is easily a top 3 or 4 offensive lineman. I think he's up there in this draft with Joe Alt, the guy from Penn State, and then the dude from Oklahoma, Guyton. He's definitely probably right up there with those guys. He's one of the best linemen in the country. He's expected to fall in the draft because of his injury that I think he had against Ohio State, if I remember correctly. Versatile run blocker, and he's a great pulling guard. Some strengths that he has is that he's he's good at pass protecting. He's got great strength, good footwork, and he's tall with long arms. Some weaknesses, he's not great with agility and speed, and he doesn't bend his waist enough is something I also saw, but he can develop that in the NFL. And if there's one thing we know about Brad Holmes is that he likes those guys that are kind of like the injured fallen in the draft. You know, he did it with Jameson Williams, did it with Hendon Hooker, where, you know, they might not come in and play this year, but they're guys for the future. You know, like you look at that guard spot, because he is a guard for Michigan. Look at that guard spot. You know, Jonah Jackson, we don't know if we're re-signing him. He probably doesn't have much longer of his career left. And you look at Vaitai, he's probably gone. We need a guy for the future, and I think bringing one in the draft like this, with one of the best O-line schools in the country, why not? Why not bring in a guy like this who can easily come in and fill in that spot? Maybe not this year, probably next year. And by the way, he's number 65, if you were wondering. I probably should have said that, but he, again, a guy who can come in, be that guy for us down the, you know, in the future. And the offensive line is honestly one of the most important positions. I'd say probably the most important position on this team, because without the offensive line, our offense wouldn't work, right? Like, we would not be able to do anything. Zach Zinter, one of my favorite prospects that we could get in the 3rd round for sure. Let's move on. We're going to head into the 5th round now, where I've got another guy who you probably haven't heard of this guy. Pick 162, we have Brennan Jackson, he's the Washington State defensive end that, you know, stats are coming up here in just a second, but he had a pretty good year and I think has a really good chance to become something in the NFL. You know, he's not the tallest guy, but size-wise, he's not terrible. 8.5 sacks, a forced fumble, 26 tackles. This is a guy who I think could develop into maybe Hutch's sidekick. You know what I mean? Like, he probably won't start this year. Maybe he will. Who knows if we got him. But I think that, you know, for a guy who, you know, looking at some of the stuff about him, he's athletic and very versatile. He's great against the run. And, you know, some of his strengths, he's high motor, physical presence in the run game, high IQ. Some weaknesses is that he needs more pass rush moves, and he also needs a little bit more like strength, you know, being able to shed blocks. So those are both things, you know, like especially with the more pass rush moves. That's something you could easily develop in the NFL. You know, you're going to get those NFL coaches that are going to kind of teach you some things, you know, like not that the college coaches are worse or anything, but they'll be able to teach you different things and maybe find different things that work for you in our systems. And like I said, he's a great guy in the run game as well, which is nice, you know, because one thing that, you know, our main focus on defense this year was stopping the run. And what did we do this year? We stopped the run because we didn't give up a single 100-yard rusher all year. And not only that, even Christian McCaffrey couldn't go for more than 70 yards. I don't even think we give up more than 70 yards to a running back all year. So I think that getting a guy like this who, you know, he's, like I said, you know, he's more of a depth piece for this season. Probably won't be anything too special this year, but could come in maybe 2 or 3 years down the road and be a guy who could go alongside Hutch and be a guy who could come in, maybe not get a ton of sacks, but he can get pressures, maybe get 8 sacks on a year, and then stop the run as well. He's very good at stopping the run, maintaining his side of the field, and a guy who I could definitely see being a solid player in the NFL. You know, maybe not he's a 5th round pick, right? He's not going to be a Aiden Hutchinson, a Myles Garrett. You know, he's not going to be anything like that, but a good depth piece that could come in and maybe be a number 2 alongside Hutch one day. Let's move on. Round 6, pick number 206, and right here, like I said earlier, you can never have enough offensive linemen, right? We need to make sure that our O-line is always set for the future, and here we have Charles Turner III from LSU, interior offensive lineman. He played center at LSU, but at the Senior Bowl, he did play more of guard, I think. He was I saw that he was one of the biggest standouts at the Senior Bowl. He's very athletic, he's a good run blocker, and he has a great first step, and like I said, standout at the Senior Bowl. Strengths, athleticism, experience, football IQ, and intelligence. And I also, what does that say? It says good pass blocker. There it is. Some weaknesses, functional strengths. He's not very strong. Right? You look right here, and these are some of the things that I saw from Scouting Report. Those are the strengths, and then once it gets to the weaknesses, you'll kind of see that, you know, his strength isn't all there, and that's something that you can easily develop. You want to look at Jason Kelce. Let's look at him. 6th round pick, same size as this guy. He was, you know, looked at as, you know, not very strong, not very big. This guy could come in and be a Jason Kelce. I 100% think that, you know, you don't find Jason Kelce's every day, but I think this guy could be one for sure. I would love that pick. The final pick of the draft, round 7, my final pick of this mock draft, pick 246. I have the Lions taking kicker Harrison Mevis from Missouri. And, you know, you usually don't get excited about kickers. Trust me, this guy is not just an ordinary kicker. If you just wait till you see the picture of him, you could probably tell there. Just look at his size, 5'11", 243. And like I said, this guy is a kicker. He's not a lineman. He's a kicker. And you're looking at his, like, I think his sophomore year. I forget if he was a senior, junior, whatever it was. I think he was a senior. His junior year, he missed a chip shot kick, like it was like probably like a 27-yarder against Auburn. And he followed it up with this game right here against Georgia, where he went like 4-4, hit him from 40 plus multiple times, and they should have won that game. Honestly, I remember that game like it was yesterday. I can't believe they didn't win that, but he had probably his best career game that game. Following up, and he learned a lot from those mistakes that he made. And he's some of the things that I was able to find on him is huge leg. Obviously, he can hit from 60 plus, and he's consistent and clutch. Some of the strengths that he has is massive lower body, strong leg. Weaknesses is that he misses short distance because he's so powerful. And like I said, the game winner against Auburn, he missed, and then he followed up with this game. And he learned from his mistakes, and he grew from that, right? And he's a guy who, you can rely on to hit from 50 plus. The biggest thing, a lot of controversy around Dan Campbell's decision to go for it on fourth down against the 49ers twice. And I agreed with him to do it. I thought, the second one he probably should have kicked, but again, like, we have a 75% chance of our offense getting a first down, or we have a 45% chance of Michael Badgley hitting from 50 plus, which, I don't know. What would you rather take? The offense didn't execute well enough. It's not all on Dan Campbell, but I think that having a guy you can rely on to hit from 50 plus, I think is going to be huge when it comes down to playoff games, down to the wire games. And you've seen rookie kickers come in and make huge differences. And here's that 61-yarder. I mean, that is just crazy. And I think it was like the SEC record to win the game. It's clutch. He's got it. This would be a guy who I would love the Lions to get with their final pick. And there it is. Look at that. Look at that lower body. Look at that massive stature. I love it. So I would love Harrison Mevis. But that's really all I got for this mock draft. Like I said, every other Wednesday, we'll be coming out with a new one. So 2 weeks from today, I'll be coming out with my 2.0. And the thing with this year's draft is there are so many different ways that I think the Lions could go. You could go O-line in the first round. You could go edge in the first round. There's so many different players and positions that we could go for. So I'm excited. Let me know what you guys thought of the mock draft. I want to hear, some players that maybe you think I should take a look at for my next ones. Maybe picks that you agreed with, picks you didn't agree with, some other positions that we should look at, or just, what you thought of the video and what you thought of the draft in general. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Peace.